As-salamu alaykum, Sayyidi.
Walaikum salam rahmatullah.
This question has been asked many times. Is there an element on the periodic table related to Karbala?
Element on the periodic table related to Karbala. I have not the thought of that. I can't say no because it's not something anything has come to me. That what from the periodic table and how are you making reference to it? Then and why it's reference to Karbala? Because the periodic table is a table of elements. So maybe the person is meditating on something, so I'm not getting. Why don't you tell us which element so that I can understand where you're coming from and why are you linking it to Karbala. So Mercury has to do with shaitan and the toxicity, oxygen has to do with our breath, carbon has to do with our dunya existence. So our elemental understanding is a one way of a universal description, still in the level of dunya, not in the level of akhirah. So alien nations, they don't describe you as a human and they don't describe you as, oh he's a tall handsome 6 foot white guy. They're going to describe you based on your elements, that this is a carbon creature because his main element is carbon, where maybe someone else on another planet their main element may be nitrogen or silica. So the jinn, their main element is not carbon, it's silica, and there's a similarity between silica and carbon. And so somebody was asking, and I think one of my kids was asking, that the jinn race, is it silica based? And I said, yeah, as a matter of fact their home and residence is based on silica. And then the similarity of the silica element to carbon element. So depends on what science and what the person is meditating and what's coming to their heart, and Allah expands that heart and its understanding and its point of reference. That each of the elements have a significance, but you have to focus on and to open up its understanding that there are noble gases, 9 noble gases. Huh? Are there 9 noble gases? So we have nobody who does chemistry in the school, yeah, in the group, yeah. So the elements they have significance, so yeah, it's a matter of focusing on the gases, the elements, and like we said Mercury is symbolic of shaitan and its toxicity, and that yeah, small amounts can kill you and poison you, and that he's a Mercury, and anything that he puts he makes it to be toxic. So that has these elements have different realities and different understandings. But titanium, then inshaAllah we look into it. And iron, Imam Mahdi salam has to do with iron, hadith. And the realities of hadith and 57 I think is in Qur'an, and Allah gives the number of elements by the number of the surah. So yeah, the periodic table has a significance, but it requires people to focus on that and that their heart Allah expand its understandings. And that Sayyidina Mahdi salam has to do with iron and the importance of iron. Iron is an element that cannot be made on earth, so it comes from the heavens. As a result it's brought onto the earth and we find it as an essential element within the earth. But the secret of iron that it has such a immense amount of power within the atom of iron. So dunya uses it to explode. So they make their explosive devices from iron because there's such an immense force to make an atom of iron that we cannot make it on dunya. So as a result they try to separate it. By the force they use to break the atom, it releases exponential amount of force out. That's why it's so destructive in dunya. But it's symbolic of the presence of Sayyidina Mahdi salam. It's something that is not made from dunya but it's coming on to dunya. Means the immensity of its power, the immensity of its reality. And that the 57th surah then has to do immense reality of the presence of Sayyidina Mahdi salam. So each of the elements have a reality and inshaAllah Allah give more understanding for that. So the elements have understandings of different creatures, different things, different events. And if you wanted to universally describe creatures, you would describe them by their elemental structure, not the shakl, the form. So we are of a carbon based creature and we have a certain amount of oxygen within our system. Others may have a higher element of nitrogen. They say in the dinosaurs when everything was huge and big, the only reason they could be big was the level of nitrogen in the air was more. Those huge creatures wouldn't grow now with the level of oxygen that we have in our atmosphere. So it means all of these elements will then show something that's happening or creatures that are existing on that plane. So the creatures that exist on Mars, they probably have different forms, different structures for the location in which they're existing. InshaAllah. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifoon wa salaamun al mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Bi hurmati Muhammad al Mustafa wa bi sirri Surat al Fatiha.